Hello, good morning, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Felicia from SweetGeorgia, and this is Taking Back Friday, the live stream version that we do the second Friday of every month. And today we have lots of things to share, actually. What we've been doing for the past couple of sessions now is sharing a little bit about the Secret Stash Club that we just started this year at SweetGeorgia. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. I'm going to be talking about upcoming make-alongs that we have going on, and talking a lot about things that we're filming for the school and what we're teaching inside the school, what we're learning in there, and I'll be sharing a couple of swatches and samples from that. But thank you guys so much for being here today. It's very, very cool to see you guys in the chat here. Thankful for the excuse to sit and enjoy some time with friends. Fantastic. Thank you guys so much for being here. So what we're going to start with today is I am going to do the color reveal for the March club that we just sent out for the Secret Stash Club. So Secret Stash is our monthly club that we've been sending out new yarn for. So we dye a brand new color every month and we send that out for yarn, specifically sock yarn, fingering weight sock yarn. And we started also doing a quarterly club. So the quarterly club comes out every 3 months. And this month, March, is the first installment of our fibre club. And the fibre club this month, I'm going to show you in a second. But yeah, very, very excited for that. So monthly yarn club and quarterly fiber club. And so we're going to talk about those things today. So the reason why we wanted to start this color club back again was so that we could start to do a little bit more experimentation with color, try a bunch of different things, try different techniques, different ways of dyeing yarn, different kinds of sock yarn that we could dye on. And so we have been looking at a number of different blends, things that we're going to bring in that are new, that are a little bit novel, and trying some new different things. But it also gives us a chance to talk about stories and talk about trying to translate stories into color. And so this month in particular was very, I was very stressed out about sending out the story because the story is actually very, very personal story. And one of the things that has been sticking in my mind for a long time is, like, as you guys know, my son, my oldest, he just turned 10 in November this past year, and my daughter is actually turning 8 tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be Nina's birthday. And so we've been doing this parenting thing for about 10 years now, and it is definitely a season in our life. And I remember hearing from my mom, and my mom was always saying that when we were little, like, I have 2 brothers, so the 3 of us, 3 kids in the family, she said it was sort of the hardest time of her life, but it was also the best time of her life. And I never really understood what she meant, because I remember when we were growing up, the 3 of us, we all did music. My brothers did, violin and viola and piano, and I was singing. And so our house was noisy all the time. It was super noisy. And people would be all in their rooms and practicing, and it was just felt not necessarily chaotic, but just really noisy all the time. And, with 3 kids growing up and all the stuff that happens around that, and all the cooking and the food and the drama and everything, I just felt like, how could that be considered sort of the best time of her life? And so now I'm sort of in this phase as well, like this very intense parenting phase, and going through all of that. And so I want to share you sort of like the inspiration for where this color came from for this month. So here is a photo of what we used for sort of the colorway that we designed. And so this is a photo of driving up a mountain highway. It's very, very early morning, and you can see kind of like the blue of the sky. You can see sort of the shadowy colors of the trees. But this story that is behind the whole colorway is basically about this season of parenting and how it is evolving and how it's changing and all these kinds of things. And so one of the things that we've had to do is, like, for our kids, one of their activities that they do in the wintertime is they do skiing. And because there has been no snow locally in the Coast Mountains for this season. Like there was no snow all of January, all of February. And so we've had to drive much further to get them to their ski training and their ski lessons. And so this ski driving them to this training requires us to sort of wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We are driving in the middle of the night. It feels like we're driving when it is pitch black outside and driving like this long and winding road up a mountain, sometimes through weather, sometimes through snow, and it's pitch black outside. And so it's this kind of surreal feeling of not knowing which direction you're going in at any particular time. Are you actually still moving forward? Which way are you going? Which way are you going to turn next? All of these kinds of things. And seeing that as a little bit of a metaphor of how parenting is as well, not entirely sure what's around the corner, what's going to happen next. And especially with, our kids being 8 and 10 now, things are changing for them, their friends and socially, a lot of things evolving and changing. And looking back on this time where we are doing this, weekly drive in the dark and wondering when this will end and will actually quite a bittersweet ending when this season ends, season of our life, not even just like the winter season, but the season of our life and how it's changing and everything. And so that's what this colorway is about. And so we have like a little insert that goes with the box, that goes with this color when we ship it out. And so it details like the whole story and everything like that. But that's kind of like the photo that it was based on, even though this is about 7 o'clock in the morning, the photo is taken, as opposed to like 5 o'clock in the morning when there's no light to take any photos. So that is what that is. And so I'll share with you some screenshots or some photos of what the actual color looks like. So this is the color that we designed. It is on Tough Love Sock, which is one of our most popular yarns here at Sweet Georgia. And so this yarn is a 80/20 merino and nylon yarn that we've used for I don't know how long, since we started. I think since we started 19 years ago. This is a yarn that we've had. And the colors are these blues and purples, and it's all different shades of blue. It's kind of this meandering color. I didn't want it to be like striped or striated in any sort of way, but just really like layers and layers of blue colors. At first, we experimented a lot with like some colors that were way darker, some colors that were a little bit too light. I wanted it to be a little bit like having a bit of a dark feeling to it. And so that's what that is on for the yarn side of things. And so this yarn, we use it in shawls, we use it in sweaters, you can use it in socks, absolutely. It's really nice, actually, if you take this yarn and you double it, you hold two strands of it together, and then you can knit it into a worsted weight yarn. So that could make a great hat, or knit it with like a strand of fuzzy mohair or something like that. And so this has been a really, really great, really versatile yarn for us. And that is the photo of the yarn color for March. And I'll share with you guys the fiber color. So this is the fiber color. So it's basically similar colors, same colors that have been translated into a fiber. So spinning fiber, one of the main things that I teach about spinning fiber is that all of the colors that are in your spinning fiber, they are going to blend more when you transform it into yarn. And so if you start with a colorway that's already very blended or very muted, or the colors are all a little bit already really mixed into the fiber, when you go to spin it, it will look almost solid. And so in order to maintain a lot of the depth and the nuance of different colors, you need the fiber itself to have more contrast overall. And so that's why we dye the fiber differently than we dye yarn. We always do. And so the fiber takes on more of a hand painted appearance so that you can see chunks of purple, chunks of lavender, chunks of teal, chunks of navy. So that way, when you spin them, they will blend in a little bit differently. So, oh yes, Thank you. So Greta has been posting a couple of the links to the fiber and the yarn and everything like that. So this is what it looks like on fiber. I'm going to share with you guys. Oh yes, I didn't tell you what the fiber is. The actual fiber is our Polworth and silk blend. And so Polworth is a kind of wool. It's a sheep breed that is a cross between merino and Lincoln. And so if you spun merino before, you know merino is very soft, the staple length is quite short. It's very elastic and a little bit spongy, and it's really, well, not spongy, but it's like very elastic and bouncy. And then Lincoln has like a slightly longer staple length, a little bit more mellow, more like 4 to 5 inches, as opposed to like short, like merino. And so when you've combined these two different sheeps and bred them together to create this Polworth sheep, the Polworth fiber has a little bit of a longer staple length, so it's nice and easy to spin, beautiful to spin, and it also has retains a lot of the elasticity and the bounce and the poof and all of that kind of stuff. So I find that when you spin this particular fiber, you get a lot of a bounce in the fiber in the yarn when you finish it. When you finish washing it, it kind of poofs up a little bit. It's really, really, really lovely to spin. So let me show you some of the things that we made out of this. Um, this is the first one I'll share with you. This is the Kiaa shawl. This is a shawl that was designed by Tabitha Hedrick, and it's a two-color shawl. And we love this shawl pattern. We have reknit it in multiple different color combinations and things over the years. But this is one where we took the blue from the Winter's End colorway and we mixed it together with a color from our collection called Fable. So Fable is that pinky kind of color, and the two knit together make this beautiful, beautiful combination. So I'm going to show you really quickly what that looks like here. So here we have our skeins of Winter's End. And here you can see this is the spinning fiber that's come out of it. And so you can see, yeah, we definitely have chunks of like more lavender kind of color. These are the navy color. They're kind of high contrast here. And there's a little bit of turquoise and teal, all of these kinds of things. When this spins together, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens when this all spins together. I think it will be really lovely. But you can see it is quite a soft fiber. Maybe you can see almost like a little bit of the shine to it because it's got a little bit of a silk in the blend. So there's a little bit of a sheen to it as well. It's going to be really, really lovely when this is spun up. So yeah, there you go. And then here, this is the blue. So it's not a flat blue. There is definitely like a lot of variation happening in this colorway here, but we wanted it to be a little bit softer, sort of like a little bit more of a smoother blend between the colors, smoother transition between the colors, so that it wouldn't have any pooling or anything like that. We didn't want any pooling in this particular colorway. But yeah, you can see, like, looking at the fiber side of things, we've pulled out sort of that kind of color and mixed it together to make the Kiaa shawl. So let me just hold that up for you guys for a second here. So the whole shawl looks more like this. This is how the two colors have blended together. So you can see here's the Fable, the pinky color here at the end, and then mixed together with that blue from the Winter's End works really, really well into this two-color shawl. So yeah, I mean, this is always one of the challenges. You know, you get a hand-dyed color, maybe from a fiber festival or from a club, and maybe you only got one skein, and you're like, what can I do with this one skein? You can definitely mix it with another complementary color. Just pull one of the colors out from what you're seeing in the skein and just mix it together with that color. So, I mean, you could mix this with navy. You could mix this with a kind of a lavender color. You could mix it with, again, this Fable kind of, it's a rosy kind of purple. You mix it with that kind of color, mix it with a lighter turquoise, something like that. So there's lots of different ways that you can combine a blue like this, and especially one that has so many different layers of color inside. I'm going to show you my favorite thing right now because, let me see here, because I love my cone winder. So I've been using the Sunfire cone winder. I've talked about this before. It's a 3D printed cone winder, and it makes these beautiful cones that just look like they're almost too perfect to knit from. But you can see the color variation between everything that's happening in that blue. There's a lot of stuff happening for something that just looks like it's blue. There's actually a lot. And then I cranked it into a pair, well, one sock so far. So I have one sock that still needs to be grafted. The toe still needs to be grafted. So we'll just hide all that yellow for now. But yeah, that's what it looks like when it is cranked into a sock, or when it's knit into a sock. This one happens to be 64 stitches around. And that is what it looks like here. So let me see. There you can see what is happening with that yarn. Yeah, fantastic. So, oh yes. So Bridget and Greta are sending links in the chat. Send. Yes. So we have links in the chat, and a couple of more photos here as well. So if you wanted to join us for the Secret Stash Club, we do have this as a rolling enrollment. So you can join at any point in time throughout the year. You can join anytime, but in order to get next month's installment, you would have to sign up before the 15th of every month. So the 15th is going to be the cutoff date. And so one of the things that you get, if you are a member of the subscription, is that you'll get like little goodies inside your installment, inside your box. So like, for one of the things is this month, what we sent out is we sent out the travel gleaner to go with the yarn. So there's a little bag, there's stuff on here, and it's called Gleaner on the Go. And it is this. It's this little defuzzing device. So it's a depilling, defuzzing device. So you use this part, which is a little bit rough, and then you use this to remove any pills off of the things that you've made. And then there's like a little bit of a brush here as well. And normally the original gleaner has a big handle, and so it's quite a big thing. But this little travel gleaner is great because you can just pack it with you and take it with you if you're going anywhere. So that is a travel gleaner that we included with the subscription boxes. So you can join the subscription anytime before the 15th to get April's. And April's is really, really, really neat. It's sitting here on my desk. It needs to be wound into a ball. I'm very, very excited to be able to share that with you guys next month. But April is done. It's ready to ship as soon as I write the little insert that goes into it. It's going to be ready. So we're very, very excited about that. So in any case, if you guys want to join that club for next month, the deadline for that is March the 15th for that. So what do I have to share with you guys next? If you guys are on our email list, you will know that we are currently doing what we do probably, we've been doing this for a number of years. Around every February, March, we do this event, which is the mystery bag sale. And so you can see here from the photo here, we have a lot of yarns that we dye as experiments, as tests. And we do a lot of testing, even for these clubs and everything like that. We do a lot of testing. And so with all of the tests, they're not part of the standard collection of colorways or anything like that. And so these yarns are absolutely perfect, but they are very often, discontinued colors, or colors that we've been testing, or colors that, didn't meet exactly what we were looking for in terms of our standards for what we want the colors to look like. And so we bundle all of these together as mystery bags. And so if you order a mystery bag, you will be able to get like a collection of skeins, and you won't know what colors they are, but you can pick from a number of different options. So we have bundled the options together in a lace bundle. So a lace bundle includes cash silk lace, merino silk lace, sea silk lace, double lace, sock blank. Those are the things that might be included in that package. For minis, we have Cash Lux Fine minis, Cash Lux Spark minis, Flax and Silk Fine minis, Superwash Spark minis, Superwash DK minis, Tough Love Sock minis, and also some Briggs and Little's Chunky. Briggs and Little's Chunky has been really, really good for people who are doing punch needle and tapestry and things like that. We also have mohair bundles, which includes mohair silk sock, mohair silk DK, also non-mohair fingering. So that is basically all of the sock yarns that we have, Tough Love sock, sock yarn blanks, BFL and silk fine, those kinds of things. Non-mohair DK, so that's flaxen silk DK, superwash DK, BFL silk DK. All of these things are packaged into the DK bundle, or there's the option of having those in the bag, and then non-mohair worsted. So yes, mystery bags. This is the thing that we are doing right now. So if you go to that link, mystery bag, you'll be able to see some of the things. And I love this particular photo, and I've saved it in my phone for a long time, because even though colors are tests and colors don't make the main collection of yarns that we make, like, the colors are still so nice and beautiful. And again, it's this idea of being able to like look at a skein and pick out the various components of that colorway and see if you can mix and match it with something else and make it into a larger project. I think that there's been a lot of beautiful things that I've seen made from all of these mystery bag collections as well. So I'm excited to see what you guys think about that. And so that is what is going on in the shop right now. I have also, we're going to talk a little bit about things that we are working on inside the school, because we are filming new things for the School of SweetGeorgia right now. And you can't see, but behind me, my warping board is set up. I'm going to be filming this afternoon, and I'm going to be filming winding warps for a class that we're going to be teaching about how to hand paint your own warps for weaving. And so that is going to be coming up soon. We're doing a lot of preparation for a lot of filming and things like that. I have also behind me here this loom that's sitting behind me. This has been set up with a warp that I'm doing some testing on and everything like that. And I showed this in the school live stream, but this is one of the samples that's just come off of that loom, just testing different colors, different blocks. How are we going to mix and match colors? All sorts of things like that. So this is one of the things that we are working on for a course that's coming out later on this year as well. This is the summer and winter weaving class. And we recently had the new class come out with Kim McKenna. So let me show you that first. So Kim McKenna has been teaching spinning for the School of SweetGeorgia for a number of years now. We have learned so many amazing things from Kim about ways of sort of improving your spinning, improving your skills. Just, I've learned so much just watching her when we're filming these classes and everything like that. And so this course that we recently launched, February 22nd, just recently launched on the school, is taking a braid of fiber and spinning it 5 different ways. And so you can see there's a little photo here where she's taken one colorway, beachside brunch colorway, and she has spun it, into a long continuous gradient. She spun it with a fractal spin. She spun it with sort of like a marled. She spun it plied with a natural color. And then she has this other colorway here that she's called raindrop yarn, where she's taken some of the color and almost like sprinkled into like a natural base. And so it's absolutely beautiful, all the things that she's managed to create out of just one colorway. And so this is really, really inspired a lot of us to try a lot of these different techniques. And so what we thought was we would go into really not just watching the content and not just saying, oh, yeah, you can do these things, but actually going and doing these things. And so, one of the things we wanted to share this month was that we want to start a thing that is a multi-craftual make-along. And we've had members and people in the community mention this to us before. Like, they want to see more projects that are multi-craftual, that are not just like just spinning or just weaving or just knitting. But because many of us, like many of us, do these things where we are spinning and then we also want to make something with the yarn that we've spun. Maybe we want to weave something with our hand spun yarn. We're involved in so many of the different fiber arts at different aspects. And so to be able to combine them all would be something that we can do together and support each other on. And so one of the things that we're thinking about doing is doing this sort of like, is it 4 months? April, May, June, July, 4 month spin along about fractal yarns. So that would be like looking at one of the techniques from Kim's class. If you know how to spin fractal yarns, you can absolutely do it that way. Kim teaches other ways of sort of scaling up or skilling up, leveling up your fractal spinning. And so that's something that we want to try and work on as well. But taking 4 months to spin something and then knit something from it or make something from it, weave something from it, that sort of idea. So you can see like I have a whole bunch of fiber braids here that have been waiting for me to spin them. These are all sitting on my desk waiting to be spun, and I love them and they look amazing, but I do need like a little bit of motivation to get going, to actually make something with these. And so the idea will be, spinning fractal yarns for a couple of months and then making something from them, like knitting something from them. And then in July, because it kind of crosses over into July, we always do sort of a Tour de Fleece spin along. So you can definitely continue on into July. That Tour de Fleece spin along is more about, you know, setting a habit, setting a consistent routine of spinning maybe 5 or 10 minutes every day. So that has like a little bit of a different focus to it, but definitely you can continue spinning your fractal spun yarns into July. And then in September to December, we're going to kind of shift focus and focus on a different technique. And so that would be the idea of combo spinning. So we've talked about combo spinning before in the school as well. Combo spinning is like taking maybe like multiple colors of fiber, like maybe this braid, and then either drafting them together to make your single or spinning one bobbin of this and one bobbin of this and then plying them together to do combo plying. So a lot of different ways that you could do that. What can you do with the colors? How could they mix? All sorts of things like that. And so we're going to focus a lot on combo spinning. Sorry, for those couple of months. And then October, we generally do a little bit about Socktober. So that's about knitting socks. It might be about spinning fiber to make socks, and things like that. And then November, we do a little bit of a focus on rigid heddle weaving. And so this would be the perfect time to take your hand spun yarn and to put it on your rigid heddle loom and to weave something very, very simple. Weave a scarf with your hand spun, use a commercial weft or whatever it is, but there's lots and lots of different ways that you could use your hand spun in weaving. And so we want to play with all those and explore all of those. And so that's sort of what this multicraftual make along is about. So we're offering these sort of opportunities to make things together, share things together. And it's going to be hosted in two different spots. So you can find conversation about all of these things in our Discord. Our Discord server is open to everybody. So you can join the Discord at any time and participate in any one of these sort of conversations about either spinning or weaving or knitting, crochet, dyeing, punch needle, I think CSM knitting, machine knitting, all sorts of things like that are all happening inside the Discord. And if you are a member of the school, we are going to have conversations about this inside the school as well. And so, yes, Greta's just posted the link to the Discord as well. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I want to share with you this. This is like this great photo that Bridget took of my sweater, which I am wearing right now. And this sweater is spun from the salted caramel colorway in a fractal spun yarn. So this yarn that is forming sort of the yoke of the fair isle that's happening here, the colorwork yoke, is all fractal spun yarn. And so I loved making this project so much that I really, really want to do something like this again. So taking, like another colorway, maybe like this purple colorway. Actually, this is the salted caramel colorway here. And yeah, definitely doing another kind of fractal spun yarn. I do want to knit with my yarn. It feels amazing once it's been knit up. I might do some stuff on a knitting machine so that I can do it a little bit quicker. But yes, definitely starting from spinning and then using that yarn in either a knitted project, crocheted project, or a weaving project. These are the things that we want to do. And we started with spinning because we found out that the majority of the people who are in the school either came to the school to learn how to spin or are already spinners. And so there's a lot of spinning knowledge and interest in spinning and wanting to learn more and skill up your spinning abilities and all sorts of things like that. And so that's definitely a place to sort of join us and share more if you are interested in doing more spinning and making things from spinning. There's so many things to talk about with spinning. So that is what the make along is about. And so this is what our plans are sort of from now until the end of the year with spinning and making things. So what is a pattern for this sweater? This pattern, this is called Alpine Bloom. This is a pattern that was designed by Caitlin Hunter. So you can find that on her website and also on Ravelry. I think you can get it on, you can definitely get it on Ravelry. She has another version of this sweater that has long sleeves too as well. But this is Alpine Bloom. And I knit it with a strand of silk mist, the mohair silk yarn that we have to make the whole thing fuzzy overall. And this darker color here down here, this is actually BFL and silk fine. And then the yarn that I used for the fractal spun hand spun is BFL and silk spinning fiber that I spun together. So that is basically what's happening for the rest of the year. And we're going to talk about all that stuff in Discord. So if you haven't joined us there, I encourage you guys to find us there. Now, I want to share with you what is happening with the next class that's going to come out in the School of SweetGeorgia. So the next class that's coming out is about weaving overshot. And so I started weaving overshot maybe a couple of years ago. And it was like the biggest, scariest step ever. I'm going to pause this for a second here and talk about Overshot in a bit because, like, I remember so distinctly being a weaver and wanting to weave and loving weaving, but I spent probably like 10 years weaving just plain weave. Um, and really, working with hand-dyed yarns, working different materials, changing the set, the density of your yarn, trying to make things warp faced or weft faced or whatever it was. But I did a ton of weaving with just plain weave. And then I learned how to weave twill. You're using a 4-shaft loom and weaving twill and things like that. And I feel like I really stopped myself from moving forward with any more weave structures, partly because it was bewildering uh, and overwhelming, and I just didn't know which direction to go in. And so I've talked about this idea before about kind of like weaving is like being dropped into a middle of a forest, and there's so many different trails and so many different paths to go down, and you're not sure which trail is going to head where. You don't know where anything is going to lead, but you just know that there's so many options, and which option do you take? And so not having a map, not knowing what weave structure to start with is extremely challenging. It's paralyzing. And so I was stuck for a long time between sort of like that plain weave twill side of weaving and like the rest of the world kind of weaving. And I feel like Overshot is the thing that took me over the edge and allowed me to understand, oh, there's so much more going on and there's so much more that you can do. And there's so much more that you can do with just a 4-shaft loom. And yeah, it's actually quite amazing. So I'm going to show you the very first samples that I started working on for Overshot as I was learning. Okay, and so I can show you some of these samples here. This is actually this here, this purple one. This one is a draft that is called Johann Schlelein's 123, and it's from a book called Marguerite Porter Davidson's book. It's Hand Weaver's book. It's like written in 1948 or something like that. It's a really, really old book. It's been reprinted many, many times. There's tons of patterns in it. But this is one that I started weaving with first. And you can see, these nice diagonal lines. The goal of weaving like this overshot is to get sort of these 45-degree angles, to get perfect circles, all these kinds of things. And so this pattern was really, really great to experiment with and work with. You can almost see here, there's circles happening here between all these diamonds, all these diagonals. There's actually circles. So it's kind of like a picture where if you look at it from one angle, it's one thing. If you look at it from a different angle, it's something else. So this was really, really lovely to work with. But if you can imagine, this is possible with a 4-shaft loom. So if you have just like a table loom, 4 shafts, you can do this. And what it is you can see in the background here, you can see from maybe up the top here, this is plain weave up here. You see? Okay, so that's all plain weave in here. Okay, and then this pink yarn, this pink weft yarn, is basically laid in between all those plain weave picks in order to create this design. So there's actually a whole bunch of things going on here. You have this warp yarn is all this beige kind of natural colored cotton. And then you have one shuttle, which is going to be this natural colored cotton. And then you have a second shuttle, which is going to be this pink colored yarn. And so those 3 things in combination create this amazing fabric. It's all plain weave in the background, but it's got these pink weft picks laid into the cloth to create this pattern. It's quite amazing. This is the same threading, and then treadled differently looks like this, right? And then treadled differently looks like this. And then treadled differently can also produce this. And then treadled differently again can produce this. So there are so many different ways of looking at something that is so simple. This is one threading and it produces all of these different fabrics. And so all of this is possible on a 4-shaft loom. I find this just amazing just to think about. I feel like it's a little bit mind-blowing to think about it that way. But in this course, again, I kind of started with this. Am I looking at it the right way? Yes. Okay. So for the course that we teach in the School of SweetGeorgia, I set up this warp, and it's meant to be a bit of a sampler. So you can see here, this is plain weave. We're weaving plain weave. I'm using a bit of a thicker yarn, so you can see it's actually taking the width of the fabric, and it's pushing it out. It's expanding the width of the fabric because the weft yarn that I chose to use for plain weave here is so thick. Okay, it's just an illustration to show you that that fabric is actually the yarn is actually quite thick. And then here, I'm just treadling just blocks here. And then as a comparison, using that super thick yarn again here, this is that just beam yarn that we have here at the studio. It's a 3-2 cotton, and then this here is a 5-2 cotton, so it's a little bit of a thinner cotton. The pink is the thinner cotton, the blue is the thicker cotton. You can visually see the difference between those two, right? One of them is like, it looks like the pattern is much thicker, much more prominent. And then here, I'm going into treadling that pattern. And you can see here, my diamonds, which should be square looking, are actually quite squashed looking. So a lot of this learning how to weave overshot is the practice of, learning how to control your beat, control all of these different elements in order to make something that's quite nice. So this is my illustration, as always, about like my ovals that were very, very squashed at first. I was beating too hard, and then I beat a little bit less hard, and then I beat a little bit less hard until I managed to get these circles. So it's kind of definitely a lot of practice, a lot of getting to know your loom, getting to know your weaving. And so this is what we work through in the course. So that's a sample that I wove as a test, and then this is the sample that I wove for the actual course as well. So you can see here, there's the pattern that we're weaving. Those are the circles that we want to get. This is another variation on the same thing. And you can see they're all on the same warp, same threading, everything is the same, but you can see the variety that can be produced just by changing yarns, changing colors, changing treadling, changing things. So this is what we are teaching in the class when we talk about overshot. And so we talk about like, how does overshot work? How do you thread overshot? I try to teach the theory behind overshot and everything like that, because it's a kind of block weave. And then I'm using this as a foundation for future classes, because we're also going to be teaching about crackle this year and summer and winter this year. And all of these three weave structures are all supplementary weft block weave structures. I know that sounds like a mouthful, but block weave just means like you're able to make the warp yarns look different in the same cloth. So you can thread something on one side and it will produce a certain pattern. And then for another section of your threading, you can thread it a different way and it will produce a different kind of look in your fabric. So it's going to create blocks of different appearance. And so block weave is for that. And then supplementary weft is what I was talking about, where you're just adding an extra thread, you're adding an extra warp weft pick in there, that's kind of like floating in there. You could take it out and you would have perfect plain weave in the background, but these extra sort of weft picks in there create the design, create the pattern, create the fabric and everything like that. And so that's what we're exploring. And I want to show you sort of the commonalities between these different weave structures. And really, if you jump into this weave structure, then you'll realize, oh, the whole world of weave structures is open. And so there are so many things to explore, so many different things to try, so many different variations. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with weaving plain weave for 10 years or twill for the rest of your life. But just know that all of this is out there and it's actually really fun to explore. And then you see how interlacement works and all sorts of things like that. So in any case, I'm very, very excited about this course, obviously very excited about all this content, very excited about learning these things. And again, like I tried to make it as accessible as possible by using sort of narrow warps, doing these samples on like just a few warp ends rather than making everybody make this thing that's 400 warp ends wide. We're working with about 100 to 150 warp ends, so it shouldn't take too long to set up your loom. And hopefully it's a nice way for everybody to explore some different structures. Yes. So there's some questions here. Gabrielle is talking about her alpine bloom as well. It's going to look fantastic. Suzanne's asking, do you mail to Scotland? Yes, we ship everywhere. And I feel like I'm looking at a coral reef with all those patterns. Thank you so much, Heidi. Yeah, so that is what we have been working on. I am always curious if you guys have ideas or thoughts on what we should teach next, on what we should add to the school, on what we should do make-alongs about. I'm absolutely always open to hearing what you guys have to suggest and to say. One of the things I wanted to share with you guys is a bunch of places where you can find us and where we all connect and where we've been meeting and doing all sorts of things. So these are the spots where you can find us. And it actually seems like it's a lot of spots, but like I mentioned before, Discord is one of the places where you can find um, a ton of our community chatting. Everybody's like, it's a very chatty space where people are talking about the projects as they're making them. People show work in progress, all sorts of things like that. So Discord is where a lot of the chat is happening. Instagram, you are more than welcome to share your photos of things that you've made with our yarn or our fiber and just tag us. And very often we will repost or reshare those stories. Really, really excited to see always what you guys are making with the stuff. So that is that part of it. YouTube is here, and I'm so thankful that you guys are here to share in the conversation, to be here in the chat, to be here. We love coming here to do this. Yeah, we want to make more videos soon. And in the School of Sweet Georgia, we do have like this very, very in-depth forum where people are discussing a lot of questions, a lot of answers, very much in depth. There's a lot of functionality that is available inside the school, where people are creating their own photo albums, people are creating their own learning plans, people are talking about creating like their own sort of ongoing blog updates within the school, talking about what they're learning, what they're making. And then we have these SOS meetups. And this year, the SOS meetups are very, very topic specific. So we have two meetups a month on Mondays during the daytime Pacific Standard Time with Robin, who's one of our moderators in the school. And so she hosts kind of like a very casual get together, bring whatever project you're working on and just chat with everybody there. And it's a really, really great group of people who have a lot of fun. It's just very casual, very light. And then on the second Monday of every month in the evening, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I am hosting a weaving specific meeting. And so the next weaving specific meeting is going to be on Monday, March 11th. 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it's for SOS members. So if you want to join the school, you can find us anytime. It's schoolofsweetgeorgia.com. And yes, you can definitely join us there. And the meeting is meant to really help support people who are learning weaving, wanting to try weaving, getting stuck with different things. Last meeting, we had like a tour of somebody's dobby loom. So that was very, very exciting. I've done a little bit of weaving for Waffle Weave to share in that meeting. And I'm going to weave some more things this year, including the summer and winter, including some overshot, including using some hand-dyed yarn, hand-dyed sock blanks. All that kind of stuff is going to go into my weaving this year. And so I'm definitely kind of working through a lot of things as I make these courses. I'm going to be working a lot of that through with the weaving meeting as well. So you can definitely bring your weaving projects as well. And then the fourth Monday of every month is going to be a fiber prep specific meeting. So that is actually hosted by Greta, who is in the chat right now. And so Greta loves spinning and loves fiber prep. And so you can see here, there's like a little photo here that I posted of some rolags that were made by one of our instructors in the School of Sweet Georgia, by Debbie Held. But last meeting, Greta demonstrated how to make these rolags, or how she has been making rolags out of an advent kit. Not, yeah, it was an advent kit, like a holiday fiber kit that she got, and just blending different sheep breeds and different colors and things like that. And so a lot of great conversation about how to make rolags, how to spin rolags, working with e-spinners, just lots of conversation, very specifically focused on spinning. And so if you want to join that, that is the fourth Monday of every month. And again, it's at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with Greta. And that is again for SOS members. So if you're a School of Sweet Georgia member, you can find all of the Zoom links in the calendar there as well. And yes, Greta says, I am hosting the fiber prep meeting. Fantastic. Yes, and then finally, yes, our Sweet Georgia blog. So Vicky, who is one of our moderators on the school as well, and she's part of our team, she is organizing so much content that is going to come out this year on the blog. And so we encourage you guys to keep coming back to the website and checking that out and seeing what we are doing there. And I have one more. So just finally letting you guys know that if you are in the Vancouver area, we are open again. Our studio, our front shop is open again. It's at this address, 102-334 East Kent Avenue South in Vancouver. We're right by the river. And we actually talked about this yesterday. We are going to be starting up some knit nights again. Might be knit afternoons, but we're going to be working on getting all the times nailed down and the dates nailed down and everything like that. And then we will announce that through our email newsletter. So if you're not yet on our email newsletter, please do go sign up, because we do send out a ton of information that way. And so we'll let you know when those knit nights, knit afternoons, what did we call it? We wanted to call it knitting at noon sessions, when they start up at our studio here in Vancouver. And we welcome you guys to come and sit and bring a tea, bring a coffee, and hang out and sit around our room of yarn, and bring your spinning wheel or whatever it is you'd like to do, and just hang out with us in that way. So we are definitely looking forward to that. Wonderful. Fantastic. Thank you guys so much for being here. I am very excited about this. So I am going to go home and crank the second sock that is still missing. I've only made one sock so far. I have to make one more sock. I am winding singles to storage bobbins today. I am winding warps today. I'm doing a whole bunch of things today. I'm curious, what are you guys working on today? This Taking Back Friday, as you guys know, the idea of it was to carve out time for yourself to make things for yourself on a Friday. And so I am very, very curious what you guys are all going to be working on today. What are you taking back today, this Friday? You guys can message me in Discord and continue the conversation there. But that is basically it for today. Thank you guys so much for being here. I will see you next month in April when I get to share this most amazing yarn club that I'm very, very excited to share with you guys. Yeah, I will see you guys in April. Thanks so much for being here. See you in the next one.